Hey everybody, this is Tom with The Board Gamer. Let us take things back to a time where surviving was tough. You need to hunt and gather for your food and mine for resources and build shelters for your growing tribe. Oh yeah, and if there's time, learn to farm. Now just imagine doing all of this in the winter. Today, I'll show you how to play the original Stone Age and go over the winter conditions in the Stone Age Anniversary Edition. Stone Age is a 2 to 4 player game for ages 10 and up with an average gameplay length of 60 to 90 minutes, published by Z-Man Games. The basic rundown for Stone Age has you using workers to gather resources in order to build huts. These huts, along with civilization cards, are how you score points in the game. And once one of the hut piles or civilization deck is empty, the game ends and the scores are tallied. The player with the most points wins. Game setup begins with choosing which side of the board you will play with. They are identical, only the seasons on the board are different. So if you only have the original game, nothing will be different. We will mention all the additions the Anniversary Edition adds at the end of the tutorial. Place all resources in their regions, the food in the hunting grounds, wood in the forest, clay in the clay pit, stone in the quarry, and gold in the river. Separate the tools with the 1s facing up in one pile and 3s facing up in another pile. Place them in their designated spots near the toolmaker's hut. Shuffle the civilization cards and place the deck next to the board. Then draw 4 cards, 1 for each spot on the civilization track. Next, shuffle all hut tiles and place 1 stack of the 7 hut tiles face up equal to the number of players. All unused tiles should be returned to the box. Each player will then receive 5 workers of a single color, a player board, and 12 food. Each player will also place one of their leftover workers of their color on the 0 of the score track, and another on the 0 of the agricultural track, and the remaining workers near the board. Finally, choose a first player. The rules say the youngest player goes first, but it's really up to you. The first player will receive the kahuna, which is the first player marker, the leather cup, and wooden dice. With that, setup is complete. Before we begin a round, let's take a look at our individual player boards. Starting from the left, we have 3 locations for tools. All acquired tools will fill these slots. Once all 3 slots are filled with level 1 tools, the next time you go to the toolmaker's hut, you will flip it over, making it a level 2 tool. And again, once all level 2s, you can replace it with a level 3 tool, all the way up to the maximum of level 4 tool. The center of the player board is empty. and allows you to place workers when not on the board, as well as resources. Just under that space is a list of resources and the required dice roll in order to collect a single resource of that type. We will go into more detail about that later. To the far right, we have the guide for the civilization cards for final scoring, as well as where you can place collected cards. Finally, along the bottom is a place to put all built huts. At the beginning of every round, starting with the kahuna, each player will take turns placing any number of workers on a single location, provided there is enough room. Continue around the table until all workers are placed. The locations consist of the resource areas, which only have 7 total spots each, which means only 7 workers can attempt a given resource. The toolmaker's hut and the fields of agriculture only have a single spot. And there is also a family hut that requires exactly 2 workers from a single player to activate, allowing you to gain an additional worker for future rounds. The civilization cards, as well as the building huts, have a single space per card or building, meaning only 1 worker per card or hut can be placed, but multiple cards or huts can be attempted. Finally, the hunting ground is the only location without a worker limit. Any number of workers can be placed in this location. Once all workers are placed, this ends the worker placement phase of the round. Starting with the kahuna, the players will attempt each action their workers are placed on in any order. In this example, the first player collected a level 1 tool. With this tool, once per round, you are allowed to increase a single dice roll up 1. Next, they collect their worker from the agricultural hut. This now allows them to gain a number of food equal to the track number they are on each round. Finally, they will collect the 3 workers from the clay pit. Each worker placed on a resource spot is equal to the number of dice you will be able to roll to attempt collecting the resource. So now you will place 3 dice in the leather cup, shake it up, and roll. Take the total number of the dice rolled and divide it by the required amount depending upon the location. In this example, with 3 dice, we rolled an 8. We then divide by 4 for clay and receive 2 clay. All resource locations act in this way, including the hunting grounds. Another location is the civilization cards. Depending upon their location, you must pay 1, 2, 3, or even 4 random resources, depending upon which card you are choosing to collect. Each card is different and has a different type of immediate action as well as an endgame bonus that we will address later. In these examples, starting from the right, the first card allows you to increase 1 die roll up 3 once per game. The second allows the player to roll equal to the number of players, starting with the person that collected the card and going clockwise. Each player can choose 1 freebie while it's available. Once the freebie is claimed by a player, it is no longer available to the rest. This card immediately gains you 3 points. And the fourth card does the same as the second, however, the endgame scoring is different. Now let's look at the huts. Starting from the bottom is the required resources to collect the hut. Some are straightforward, others not so much. Here we have 3 examples. On the left is the standard hut, which requires what is printed. In the middle, the winter tile requires 5 resources made up of exactly 2 different types. Whereas the summer hut below requires 5 resources of any type, provided that all 5 are the same. And finally, on the right, you can pay any number of resources from 1 to 7 of any type with no restrictions. If a number is in the top left, move that many spaces on the score track. If a question mark, add the values of all the resources spent to purchase the hut. Finally, we have our last location, the family hut, that requires 2 workers from a player. This location allows you to gain an additional worker for future turns. Once all players have collected their workers and performed their actions, it is time to feed your tribe. Collect any food you may receive from the agricultural track, and then pay 1 food to the supply for every worker you have. If you do not have enough food to feed your tribe, spend all your food and then spend resources for remaining workers. If still not enough, pay all you can, and if at least one of your workers starves, you lose 10 points immediately. Pass the kahuna to the left and slide the civilization cards to the right, and fill any empty spots starting from the left. And begin the next round. Continue each round by placing workers, completing actions, and feeding your tribe. Do this until the civilization deck is empty or one of the hut stacks is empty. Finish the current round, including feeding your tribe, then move to final scoring. The civilization cards are used in endgame scoring. The cards with the grass bottoms are scored in sets. For each different card you have, you can score multiple points. If you have any duplicates, they can start a new set and score the same way. Now, as for cards with sand backgrounds, it is best to match them together. In this example, we have 3 cards with 4 shaman on them. We take the number of shaman, which is 4, and multiply it by the number of workers we ended with at the end of the game, 5 in this example, for a total of 20 points. Next, we have the farmer, who we will multiply by the number we ended the game on the agricultural track. Next is the builders, multiplied by the number of huts. And finally, the tool makers, multiplied by our tools levels added together. Once all bonuses are added together, the player with the most points wins. Now, if you wish to play with the harsh winter conditions and or the mini expansions included in the Anniversary Edition, here are the subtle changes. When purchasing a hut, you may pay an additional stone to gain 5 additional points. Also, when purchasing a civilization card, you can pay 1 additional gold to gain 6 additional points. Now for the igloo expansion, you will place the igloos next to the huts off the board, and you can purchase these just like normal huts. However, they do not contribute to the builder bonus at the end of the game. And finally, we have the wild animal expansion. When wild animals are drawn, move them next to the civilization deck and fill any empty spaces on the track. Each wild animal reduces every dice roll in the game by the number indicated. In order to drive it off, there must be workers equal to the number of players placed on the card. You may only place 1 worker on a wild animal per worker placement turn, but multiple workers from the same player can be placed throughout the round. Once driven off, each player will roll dice equal to the number of workers placed on the card and collect the rewards based on the roll. No tools may be used to increase the rolls on wild animal cards. And that completes the brief explanation of the mini expansions for the Anniversary Edition. If you have any questions or concerns, please check the rulebook or comment below. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notified about new videos. If you're bored now, click this for more games.